Okay, it is now 10:01. I am going to get started with this workshop. Thank you again, all of you, for joining us this Wednesday morning. My name is Milady Garcia, and I am the Special Populations Program Supervisor for the Financial Education Public-Private Partnership. Before we go on, I want to take a moment for intention setting. My goal today, my intention is that you leave this webinar, this workshop, feeling empowered to talk to the students that you serve about foundational financial concepts like being banked, understanding a budget, understanding credit, and talking to them about identity theft prevention and understanding scams and frauds. That is my intention. I would love it if you take a moment in the chat to tell me what you hope to get out of this workshop today. And thank you for all of you who are on camera. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Ryan. Absolutely. That is my intention as well. That is my intention. It's so important for all of our students, our open door students who are transitioning into adulthood, to understand how to manage their resources, right? How to manage their finances. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to keep going. I want to tell you, oh, we have one more, two more. To gain financial knowledge with current new financial information to pass on to students. Absolutely. Absolutely. Navigating the financial literacy. Yes, absolutely. So many students who are undocumented or underdocumented communities, adults, are having so much fear right now. And I hope that the information you learned today will be helpful for them and motivate them to join the American financial system. Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to keep advancing my slides here. Let's see here. I want to talk to you about our agenda and learning objectives, right? So one of the things that I will be sharing with you is FEP's holistic approach to financial education, where we consider all of our students' real lived experiences, their backgrounds, the challenges that they face to deliver financial education in the most easy to digest way possible. We're going to be sharing information on how the economic instability and financial hardship that many of our students face, special population open door students face, impacts their outcomes, not only academic outcomes, but financial outcomes. We're going to share ways in which to have trauma-informed financial conversations and explain financial concepts in a very easy, fun to digest way. And last but not least, we're going to talk about, and I'm going to share FEP's curated list of financial education resources that are completely free. But before we go on, I hope everyone can take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat. Many of you already know who you are, but I don't. It's my pleasure to be here today. If you could introduce yourself, your name, your work, and what you do to decompress. I would love it if you would do that. It's so important with the kind of work that you do that can be so heavy and so draining sometimes when you give so much of yourself to the students, to find healthy ways to decompress and self-care and taking care of our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health. So introduce yourself, the work that you do, how you serve our open door students, and what you do to decompress. Thank you, Ryan, school counselor, Vancouver. Thank you so much. I also want to take time to tell you all, I really appreciate the work that you do. I know it's hard work. Thank you for that. Thank you for the service that you provide to the students that need it so very much. Carmilla, yoga, absolutely. I used to be better at doing yoga, but I've kind of fallen out of the habit. I need to get back to that because I also need ways to decompress. Music, I love it. Thank you, Jeff. Sports, big soccer fan right here. Biking. Tara, I feel you. I also need to do a better job at decompressing. Sometimes figuring out how to decompress causes more stress to me, honestly. Playing board games, that's a fun one, especially with the little ones. I love it. A dancer and a reader. Thank you, Sarah. That sounds fun. I like that. Listening to music, crocheting. Thank you so much, guys, for participating in this. Walking my dog. My dog is definitely my favorite way to decompress. Absolutely. Thank you all for sharing. I really appreciate it. And thank you again for the service that you provide to our students. So now that I know a little bit more about you, I want to tell you a little bit about me. As I mentioned earlier, I am Milady Garcia. And my work for FEP as a special population program supervisor largely focuses on supporting underserved students and the adults and educators and education adjacent professions um, in promoting and improving financial education for all communities. Spanish is my first language. I was born in the beautiful island of Dominican Republic in the capital there. My education background consists of degrees in early childhood special education, early childhood general education, and Spanish literature with a focus on Latin American studies. I've worked in the education system for a number of years, but prior to working with FEP, I worked as an interpreter and translator for different social service agencies in New York City. I loved the work I did. It enabled me to be of service to community members that needed those resources so very badly. But I also love the work I do now because I feel like I have a broader impact. And I know that the work that we are doing at FEP really does change its lives. So I'm passionate about supporting financial education for underserved students. Usually to decompress, I like to hike. I love nature. I come from New York City. It was very crowded. It was not clean air. So Washington, Olympia, where I live now, is such a breath of fresh air. I'm even getting almost completely used to the rain. Not quite there yet, but I'm getting used to it. I'm very ready for sunlight right now. But I love to read, I love to cook, and I love the outdoors. So now that I've told you a little bit about myself, I want to tell you a little bit about FEP. So we are an education board administratively housed in the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction. We were created by legislators who recognize that, yes, academic success is something that our students need to be successful in life, but knowing how to manage their finances is a life skill that they also need, right? It's not just all about the academics. To that end, they created us to improve and support financial education in K-12 schools in Washington State. Our approach is to provide professional development opportunities such as this workshop. We also do in-person trainings, all of it at no cost. We focus very much on preparing our educators to teach this content in the classroom, but we're also expanding our reach to support other education adjacent professions who have direct, meaningful, impactful communication with our students. And our students are just having that personal rapport with you guys, especially our open door students who are disengaged from the education system. We want to make sure you guys feel empowered to have these financial conversations with the students. We also review instructional materials, and we have a extensive, robust list of instructional materials as early pre-K all the way to adults, high schoolers, resources for parents, all at no cost to you. So I want to jump in now and talk and share a little bit about our holistic approach to financial education. So yes, instructional materials are very important. We focus a lot of time and energy in vetting, curating instructional materials that not only meet financial education learning standards, but reflect as much as possible the diverse backgrounds of our students, right? That honor that and promote that. So all of the resources that we share through our website, fep.org, and I'm going to be talking a little more extensively about our website later on, have been put to a two-step review process. Not only do we review for content, but we also review to make sure that the recommendations, the resources are free of implicit and explicit bias. We know that our students in Washington State are very diverse. So we also focus on culturally relevant financial education instructional material that promote and celebrate people's different cultural values, financial decision-making, beliefs, financial habits, the ways that they share or don't share their resources. We want everyone to have the opportunity to see themselves reflected in the resources, regardless of race or language. Last but not least, we know that talking about finances, talking about money, using money, spending money brings up a lot of emotions, right? Having our students prepare to reflect on what those emotions are when they're making those spending decisions is really important and is a big part of our trauma-informed approach to having financial conversations, right? Why do I always shop when I'm angry or when I'm sad or when I'm bored? Why can't I step into a Starbucks without spending 15 bucks? Recognizing those spending triggers that we have is very powerful and can be life-changing in helping our students create that habit of saving and moving from a spending mindset to a saving mindset. This visual, we love it so much. I cannot take credit for it. It comes from the National Endowment of Financial Education. They are a research-based organization out of Colorado that does terrific work in supporting financial education. So I know you guys know I'm passionate about my work because I said it already, but it's not just because I'm passionate. There's research that shows that the work that we do promoting improving financial education for all students actually changes financial behaviors and financial decision making. And the impact is biggest for our most underserved students, which just makes me so happy because, as I mentioned earlier, I know this information changes lives. I know students can gain the skills that they need to reach financial capability and have financial well-being. So you heard me talk about special populations. I want to talk about exactly what that means. So when I say special populations, I am referring to students who face barriers to access education and educational resources and opportunities that all other students access with ease. A lot of our special population students face circumstances that kind of overlap. For example, a lot of our foster students have experienced homelessness or will experience homelessness at some point. A lot of foster students also have a higher likelihood of being impacted by the justice system, such is the case also for our home students, unhomed students, and students who face housing insecurity. Our students that are in the justice system currently, many of them have IEPs and have diagnosed conditions where they're receiving special education services. Many of our Native education students are also overrepresented in the foster care system, and all of them have higher dropout rates than our other students in the K-12 system, right? When we look specifically at the students you serve, at our open door students and our alternative learners, we see that overlap also is present with that student group. Many of them are experiencing extreme economic hardship, like our on-home students, our foster students, or justice impacted students. Many of them also receive special education services, and many of them experience homelessness at higher rates than other students. So again, there's a lot of overlap, and we think of our open door students as special population students as well, because of all the challenges and barriers that they face to access education and educational opportunities. All of these students have stories, right? Every seat has a story. And when they come into the classroom, they bring those stories with them. The lives that they live, the impact, the trauma is not only happening in the classroom, it is happening outside of the classroom for the most part. So these are students that are largely operating from a survival mode, which is why so many of them are disengaged from the education system. When you're on survival mode and you don't know where your next meal is going to come from, and you don't know where you're going to be spending the night because you're doubled up with another family and you're facing all of these challenges, it's very hard to focus on academics, right? It's very difficult. And we want to make sure we honor that. We want to make sure that we present information in a way that is easy to digest. It's simple, fun whenever possible, as much as possible. but we want to honor and understand and respect the fact that these students have a lot more to contend with than most of our other students. And I want to hold some space. I would love to hear from you what stories you can share about the students that you're working with. That previous slide was pretty powerful. And I want to know if that resonates with you, if some of your students are experiencing homelessness or extreme economic hardship, or if they're having these challenges as well. If you could please enter your answers in the chat, that would be great. It also helps me learn how to better support the adults that are working with the students by understanding the challenges that they have to contend with. Thank you, Al. Wow, almost all areas. Wow, that's thank you so much for the work that you do. That is impressive, and it's hard to support students when they're having such difficulties, when they're having such challenges. I really appreciate you sharing that, Al. Discovery. Wow. So thank you so much, April, for sharing. She's telling us that she has worked with each and every one of these populations. Again, thank you, April. Thank you, Al, for the work that you do. It is so important and it's so needed. Thank you guys for sharing in the chat. I really appreciate it. And now I want to jump into, okay, Ryan, one more. Basic needs are always on top of mind. They're resilient and trying to prioritize education while managing. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing all that information in the chat. I want to jump into what are fun ways that we can help our students recognize that they all have a relationship with money. Money is very personal, but it's also very stressful, especially for students who don't have a lot of it, who have extreme economic hardship in their lives, right? One of the ways that I like to approach this conversation initially with students when we haven't had that conversation yet, and it's not a formal classroom instruction setting where they're doing an activity, it's more personal, is to ask a very simple question. What does money mean to you? For many of our students, it's going to bring up strong emotion, right? But everyone has a relationship with money, whether they recognize it or not. For us, we can think about our relationship with money and share it with our students too. Is it positive or is it negative? If it's positive, what makes us feel that way? And if it's negative, what makes us feel that way? And as I said before, money, anything financial brings up very strong emotion, particularly for students that feel like they don't have enough of it. Many of those emotions could be not so nice feeling, right? Anger, disgust, fear, sadness. I'm never going to have enough. I'm never going to achieve my goals. I'm never going to be able to survive on my own. I'm never going to be able to manage without social services to help me, right? It's all valid and it's all fair. But when we think about money, recognizing that feelings come up is a very important step. And it's part of that trauma informed approach to having financial conversations. It's okay to feel all of the feelings. Sometimes we feel all five at the same time when we think about money because it's complicated and it touches so many different parts of our lives. But just letting them know that it's okay to feel these feelings is so powerful. Sharing, yeah, sometimes when I'm late with a payment, I feel fearful and I feel sad and I feel angry too. Sharing that personal story is such a powerful way, right? And one of the exercises, again, to help our students realize what their relationship with money is to write a Dear Money letter. Again, it's very personal, it's very individual, and there are no right or wrong answers here. It's not something that can be graded. The exercise is all about reflecting, understanding what that relationship with money is, so you can start thinking about financial habits that you need to work on, right? The habit of becoming more of a saver, the habit of being more of a healthy borrower, returning things on time, the habit of not spending more than you make. These are all very powerful things, and This is going to be a lifelong journey. I tell people financial wellness is not a destination, it is a journey. It has peaks and valleys, okay? Even us as adults, they may see us as you have your life together, you have a full-time job, you're doing well. You don't understand my hardship. They don't know that many of us have faced hardship earlier in our lives and maybe still be going through struggles at times, right? But these are just some really powerful and simple ways that we can have students start thinking and talking and feeling um, and understanding what their relationship with money is. And that's going to be very important when we have financial conversations, right? It's a really nice way to get the ball rolling in a more approachable manner. When we talk about finances with individuals that are having extreme financial hardship, they tense up, right? Like a fist, because it's so uncomfortable to feel like they don't have enough. But that approach of just starting the conversation with what does money mean to you is a very effective way. Sharing personal experiences. I haven't always been very responsible with my finances. I've made missteps. I've learned a lot along the way in the School of Hard Knocks to make us more relatable, to help students understand. I haven't always had it together. In fact, sometimes I still kind of have a lot to learn because there's so many fluctuations in our financial system, if you will. And then once you have developed or established that personal connection with the students, expanding it more by asking, what are your financial goals? And maybe we don't use the word financial there. What are your goals, period? Because it's a really good way of building on that. If they want to travel, if they want to live independently, if they want, a lucrative job, if whatever it is, having good financial skills is going to help them accomplish that goal. Thank you, Jenna, for posting that question in the chat. And last but not least, empowering students. Whatever skills they have, even if they don't realize that their skill set can transfer to managing money effectively, they're there. If your students have great personalities, if they're funny, if they're personable, if they're very organized, if they're punctual, these are all skills that will serve them well when it comes to managing money and their resources in their lives. It doesn't always have to be that they're great at saving or they already have a budget or they understand credit. Many adults don't, right? But knowing that they have skills and pointing out those specific skills that they have and talking about how that can help them when it comes to managing their resources is also very impactful, because if they feel like they don't have money or they haven't had money and their parents haven't had money, they're not going to feel very certain about their ability to manage that resource because they're coming from that scarcity mindset, right? And shifting that mindset from one of scarcity to one of capability is a very powerful way to get our students seeing themselves as, yes, I can do this step by step. I will be able to do this. I'm ready, right? And when it comes to our open doors students that are at risk of not leaving school without a GED or without a high school diploma, it is particularly important and valid to talk about how specialized training can help you achieve financial stability. If you drop out of school without a high school diploma, it is going to be very difficult, if not impossible, for you to earn a livable wage, a self-sustaining wage, right? Many of them think, oh, I can work 2 jobs, I can work 3 jobs. The quality of life is not going to be very good if you have to work 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Whereas if our students, not everyone needs to go to college, not everybody is meant to go to college, right? It's not for everyone, and that's okay. The point is not to tell students, oh, you have to go to college if you want to live well. The point is to teach them that they need specialized training in order to earn a livable wage, right? If they go to an apprenticeships, obtain an apprenticeship or a trade school certificated program, it is shorter and they are going to earn significantly more money than they will as a high school dropout. This is a very powerful visual. I share it with younger people in my family who think they want to be bloggers. And I'm like, hey, what's plan B? And plan C, because that doesn't always pan out, right? Can you get trained to do something? And once they see how very different their lives could be and how much more they can earn, it starts the ball rolling, right? In their mind, like, okay, this is actually something that I can do, right? It's not 4 years. I don't have to commit for that long. Thank you, Sus. Yes, Suzanne is saying I need to check that out. EverFi and NGPF are resources that we also have in our website. So they are very good. They're very good. Thank you so much. Okay, so how do we start this budgeting conversation? Or the term budget is kind of triggering for some people, is falling out of favor. We now call it a spending plan. I like to call it a savings plan. So there's different terms for it and they're all good. But basically, one thing that we want our students to learn is how a budget can help us understand our relationship with money very simply. Having a budget, completing a budget every month helps you see if you are spending more money than you are making. And if that is the case, slashing those expenses whenever possible, as much as possible, right? It is also a tool that can help us plan for the future. We talked about what are those future goals, right? If they want to buy a car, their first vehicle, if they want to pursue higher education, if they want to be entrepreneurs, those are things that they're going to need money to do, right? And understanding that budget, knowing whether they need to work longer hours if they're not making enough to meet their obligations, right? Pay rent, have enough food, pay for their utilities and other services and goods. What are our options? We can ask for more hours at work, take a second part-time job or a second full-time job, go back to school and get that certificated program or that specialized training. And many times you still have to slash your budget, right? Maybe go out to eat less. Um, cut your entertainment expense, all the wants, all the things that we do for fun, we have to kind of curb that and find other ways to decompress, other ways to have fun that don't cost anything. Right? Going on nature walks, reading. Instead of going to the movies, can I find something on YouTube or TV that I want to watch? Can I cook a little bit more at home and invite friends over if that's more cost effective? There are ways, right? There's many ways that we can make this happen. And it's very important to understand the basics of a budget, right? Spend less than you make, right? The golden rule of budgeting, I like to tell people, is always forever spend less than you make. It doesn't matter if you're making $5 an hour or $500 an hour. If you spend more than you make, you're always going to be broke. A budget is for everyone. I think it's the one of the great equalizers, right? Whether you're a millionaire, a billionaire, or a pauper, you need a budget. Otherwise, you're not going to have enough. Do you guys have any specific questions about budgets? Have you talked to your students about budgeting at all? And you could, of course, use the chat to answer your questions. I just want to give opportunity if you have any questions at all to answer them as we transition to our next topic. Thank you, April. Yes, April. So April sharing that they do a lot for with budgeting, but it's hard to get them to see the benefit of it when they're just worried about today. That's valid. Again, so many of our students are coming from that trauma survival mode. And sometimes when that's the case, having very short-term goals is a good way to get them to see the benefit quicker, right? What is your goal? By the end of the month, what do you want to be able to do? Even if it's saving $5, there's no saving goals that is too small or too big. Get them to see that and get them to find ways to accomplish that goal. That is very powerful. And we can start building on that gradually because it doesn't have to say, be, I want to save by $5,000 in 6 months. That's not realistic for many adults. So getting them to start thinking like smaller bite-sized chunks when it comes to budgeting is really important. We also having them learn about the different budgeting methods, right? There's the 50-30-20 rule. I don't like it. I don't think it's realistic. And we can talk about that in greater depth if you have follow-up questions after the workshop. I would love to expand on the topic of different budgeting methods that can be very helpful to get our students on a very clear path to this is how much money I'm going to allocate to my obligations. This is how much money I'm going to allocate to savings, and this is how much money I'm going to allocate to wants, right? Those nice things that are not essential. And budgeting, of course, is one of those foundational financial topics and concepts that we want our students to understand to have good financial skills. The other one is the importance of being banked. So, how many of your students, I wonder, are currently banked, if you know? That's awesome, Susanna. Thank you for sharing that. So about half, there's a lot that have accounts, and that's fantastic. And that could be one of the strengths that you focus on. Hey, you're already there, right? You already have a bank account or an account with a financial institution. You know the importance of keeping your money safe. That's monumental, especially when students are living doubled up or moving around a lot. It's not safe to keep your money under the mattress. It's not safe to carry your money in your wallet all the time, right? A bank is a much safer place to keep your money, a bank or a credit union. Um, it gives you so many benefits as well. Having access to your resources through a debit card instead of carrying with you all the time, access to your money through ATMs, you can pay your bills online. If you link your utilities and your other bills through your with your financial institution account, you don't have to pay for those money orders to make those bill payments. You don't have to go physically to make the payment at the that utility service. It's just so much more convenient and it saves you money, right? It also enables you to establish a credit file or build a credit history if you have a savings account with your checking account. That is something where, especially our younger students, may be kind of credit invisible. They haven't really used credit or asked for loans, and that's fine. But if they have a savings account, and even if it's only $10 or $20 in that savings account, they can start building their credit history with that. And that financial institution may be able to help them with a secured credit card. There's a statistic out there that shows individuals who are unbanked or underbanked and use alternative financial services, such as getting your check cashed at a check cashing place, right? If you don't have direct deposit. Using money wiring services if you're sending money abroad, using payday lending, getting money orders to pay your bills. It could cost as much as $40,000 over the lifetime of an individual when they're using those services instead of, being using the services from that financial institution. That's huge. That's so powerful. $40,000 is a lot of money. Sharing that data with the students can also kind of motivate them to say, hey, I could save money if I open an account with a financial institution. Let me do it. It's also not only going to save you money, it's going to save you time as well, right? And we kind of went over this with you, and thank you for putting your answers in the chat when I asked about how many of your students are banked. But for those of you whose students are not banked, what are the barriers that they face to opening an account with a financial institution? Do you know specifically if you've had those conversations with the students that are unbanked? What are the reasons why they're unbanked? And that's okay. You may not know that, but if you do, I'm curious to know what the reasons are. I also want to take a moment to share, Susanna, having money to bank is one of the issues, and that's for adults as well, right? ID, documentation. I'm going to talk to you about we partner with a lot of financial institutions that offer low barrier access to accounts. Many of them are credit unions. Some banks are also offering low barrier accounts for students that may be undocumented or underdocumented. They can open an account with a student ID. They can open an account with an ITIN number, an individual tax identification number. They don't need an initial deposit, and there are no maintenance fees for those accounts. If they require an initial deposit, is like $5. So it really does make it very easy and accessible to students who have traditionally not been able to meet the requirements of maintaining a bank account because they have to pay $15 a month, or they have to have $100 as an initial deposit to open that account. So I want to connect with you if you have questions about financial institutions that we partner with. We are a public-private partnership. A lot of our partners are financial institutions, government agencies, nonprofit organizations, legislators that can really help in identifying resources that your students may benefit from. So please connect with us if you want to learn more about those financial institutions that are offering the low barrier accounts. Of course, credit is a big part of, managing your resources and being financially stable, right? What is credit and how does it work? That is the million-dollar question. How do you explain that to students when many adults don't really know or understand? I like to explain credit in two very simple ways. One, it represents your ability to borrow. That's one very simple way to explain what credit is. Credit is your ability to borrow. And the second one is it is your financial reputation, right? Whether you have a higher credit score or a lower credit score, that represents your financial reputation. And that makes students feel like, okay, this is simple. I can do this. It's fine. Like, I understand now. It is my ability to borrow, and it represents my financial reputation. Whether the students recognize it or not, everyone has a financial reputation. And it doesn't have anything to do necessarily with whether or not you borrow $10 from your cousin Stacy and didn't return it on time. Our borrowing habits are pretty indicative of what our habits are going to be with money, right? If we are always late returning our books on time to the library, if we borrow a pencil and never, ever, ever give it back, if we borrow a jacket, because we're going to this concert or we're going out with this person and we return the jacket dirty and maybe it has a slash on it and it's like 3 weeks later. These are all habits that we need to be aware of and work on consciously when we're going to access credit. Our students are going to turn 21 if they're not already, and they're going to be bombarded with credit card applications. It's very tempting to start just using your credit card for everything. But if you don't understand how credit works, it can be very dangerous. There are risks to consider when using credit, and they're all around. Are you using credit and not paying on time? Are you overextending yourself with borrowing more than you can realistically pay on time, right? If you're not making enough and your budget is already stretched to the max, please don't max out your credit card. Use it very consciously and only put charges on your credit card that you can pay on time. Don't max it out, right? Another thing that credit enables us to do is access goods and services now and pay for it later. That's very convenient because there are times when, oh my gosh, my microwave just broke and I need it, but I'm not getting paid, until 2 weeks from now. Can they use credit for that? Absolutely. If they have enough credit to buy, a $100 new microwave, they can totally buy it, use it, and in 2 weeks, make that payment as soon as they can, in full, whenever possible, right? The other nice thing about credit is it is a form of record of your borrowing and payment history. People make mistakes. A lot of vendors are going to be like, oh, we didn't receive your payment. And you can be like, no, no, it's right here. See, there's a record of it. Here's my payment. Here's the date. Here's the proof that I paid for this. You don't have to keep receipts all the time anymore if you pay for something using a debit or credit card. And of course, it enables you to access funds for asset building. What does that look like? Where if our students just got a job and they need transportation to get to and from work and there's no buses going there, they're going to need a car, right? And they're going to need money to buy that car. Very few people have $10,000 or $12,000 to buy a used car. They're going to need that credit history. They're going to need to borrow, right? They're going to need to go to a car dealership and get a car loan to buy that car. Knowing how and when to pay back for that car loan is very important, but it's also very important for them to get to and from work. So that's a form that they can use credit to build funds for asset building. If, of course, the obvious one is buying a house. And that's something that maybe many of them are not there yet, but having good credit and starting building that positive credit history now is going to enable them to access those funds for buying a house, having good credit, having better interest rate terms for when they're ready to make that very big step is going to be very important. But it all starts now, right? I want to know what your experience, your first experience with credit was, because many of our students are going to want to share that too, right? Like, oh, I don't know. I may feel uncomfortable using credit because I don't understand it. I know I was reluctant to use credit at first because my family was unbanked. Nobody in my family had a credit card, and I didn't know where to go for guidance. So I was very hesitant to use credit. I misused it initially because I didn't have the habit of paying for things on time. Um, but I learned, right? The School of Hard Knocks taught me. Was it positive? Was it negative? The freedom was great. The repercussions were not. I completely understand that, and I feel the same way. Thank you for sharing that, Susanna. It's it is a powerful thing, right? To have good credit and have access to things that you don't have to pay for right away. But again, there are risks to consider. And it's definitely important to share those experiences with our students so that they know it's okay to make mistakes. Just try to minimize those mistakes, right? Make really, really small mistakes if you must. But having the information on managing credit, building their confidence in the fact that they can manage credit well, that it is a habit that they can work on is very powerful too. Al, purchasing a used vehicle with parents as co-signer. Yes. That's if you can do that, it can help, right? Sometimes our parents can be very supportive. Not all of our students have the ability because sometimes their parents don't have very good credit or any credit at all, especially for students that haven't been here very long. It's hard for recently arrived individuals to understand our financial system and join it right away, especially if they come from countries where credit isn't a thing, right? Like outside of the United States, many nations don't use credit. It's not a thing, right? So having the bandwidth to start doing their research on what credit is and what banks can offer secured credit cards to start building that credit file is a lot when you have so much more to learn because you just got here 6 months ago or a year ago. Oh, defaulting after a year. I'm so sorry, Al. It happens, right? It's a hard lesson. It's a hard lesson to learn, but it's powerful. If we're like, okay, I know what can happen now. I'm not going to let this happen, again. That could be something that your students don't have to go through. If we share those experiences, they're like, whoa, I'm not going to do that, right? Thank you so much again for sharing all this information in the chat. Now, last but not least, I want to talk about a very valuable asset all our students have, regardless of whether they're experiencing extreme economic hardship or if they're very affluent. Their personally identifiable information is a very valuable asset. They may not think about it ever. It's a thought that probably never crossed their minds, but you know who's thinking about it all the time? Scammers. They want that information and they value it very much. So it's important to tell our students, beware, don't share, especially students that are moving around a lot, that are having a lot of social services and a lot of people accessing their social security number, their mailing address, any financial information that they have to be very, very careful with that and protect it as much as possible. Many of our students, ages 18 to 24, the number one way that they are targeted by scammers is social media. I know it can be very tempting when you feel isolated and nobody understands you and you don't have connections in school because you're disengaged from the school system to turn to social media for that social connection. You still have to be very careful. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying don't share personal information. Their goal is to start tracking you, the likes that you have, what concerts, what activities you participate in, and then say, oh, I was at that concert. Oh, I watched that movie. It was my birthday and my friends took me out for to the theater and we all watched the movie. We had a great time. What do you think of it? Oh, and when's your birthday? Maybe I can send you something. Those are the ways that they're like creating that reciprocity and like, oh, well, they shared their birthday. I should share mine. So now they have your full name. Now they have your birthday, and they're going to send you something for your birthday. So why don't you send them your mailing address? It seems very innocent, right? The way the information is presented. But they should be aware, no, it's okay. I appreciate you, but I don't want to share that information. It's fine. You don't have to, right? You don't actually know this person. You don't know if what they're saying is true or not, right? Just think about that. The second way that our students, 18 to 24-year-olds, are being targeted is gaming platforms. They will, some gamer will be on there and say, oh, I can sell you a cheat code. Are you struggling with getting past this level or whatever? They'll go to this link that the scammer will send, and it asks for their bank account, the credit card account, whatever, and they don't get any cheat code and they just got their information stolen. So just talking to our students about this is happening a lot to your age group is super powerful, and it's honestly life-changing. Have you or the students you served ever been targeted by a scammer? I think if it's about raising our hands, all our hands, because I'm constantly getting, oh, your USPS parcel wasn't delivered, blah blah blah, or you owe, all this money on tolls. By the way, I don't even own a car, so I don't know how I can have any debts on tolls and bridges and stuff. But they're constantly targeting you. They're constantly targeting you, and I know many of our students have been targeted, and they may not even realize that they were the victims of a scam. And I'm curious to know if you know of any circumstances whether your students have been when your students have been targeted by scammers or you yourself, right? There are many, all these scammers have is time to think about creative ways to get your money, to get your identity, basically. And if you could please continue to put your answers in the chat, that'd be great. I know when I was transitioning into this role for FEP, I went into a lot of these uh, job sites like Glassdoor and Recruiter and all these things. And I was targeted by a scammer. It was the middle of COVID. And they said, oh, can you do a virtual interview? But I couldn't see anyone. It was all via chat. And they said, well, we're going to pay you this much, $5 more than the average salary for the position. And we're going to send you a $5,000 check so you can set up your home office. We just need your banking information so we can make that deposit. And I was like, oh my God, this is clearly a scam. But when people, again, that scarcity, that survival mode, you just want to win. You're going to be like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. And you're going to give them the banking information. You're going to, because you want it to be true so very badly, right? And they'll say, we only have one more position to fill, so please hurry up if you want it. They don't want you to stop and think. They're going to create this sense of urgency. And it's important for us to share this with our students. Text messages, of course. So phishing, vishing, these are all ways that they target us pretending to be our banks. Phishing emails, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you guys for sharing, right? And even for our students that are pursuing higher education, there are scams that they need to be aware of, right? Scholarship scams, whether you believe it or not, are a thing. I had never heard of them before, but they're real. I was horrified. These are students that are getting ready to pursue higher education. The last thing that they need is to have their identity stolen. It happens. And one way that you can spot a red flag when a student is applying for a scholarship, if the application is so simple that they're only requiring you to write a paragraph about your favorite thing and they're offering you $100,000, that is a red flag. Scholarships, they want to know that you're going to take the work and dedication, right? For that money. So if it's too simple and too much money, red flag, think about it twice, right? If you're selected for a scholarship you never applied for, that's a scam. You have to have applied. They want you to take the time to write that essay, to have letters of recommendation, all the things in order for you to be a valid candidate to receive that money, right? So if it's too good to be true, the golden rule here is for all scams. If it's too good to be true, it is. It is. I'm not saying that they can't be lucky, but there's a level where just luck stops and then it's a scam, right? And they have to be aware of that. If they're guaranteed a scholarship award, if they pay a fee, super massive red flag. Please don't fall for that. It is not true. You should never have to pay a fee for a scholarship. And there is no way anybody can guarantee that you will get a scholarship. It's supposed to be a very fair process, right? There are no guarantees. Again, scholarship applications with no essays, typos, misspelling, when they have phrases like enter to win. These are all red flags that they should know about if they're considering applying for a scholarship for financing their higher education. On the screen, you have some legitimate websites that are real, that are not scams. If they're interested, if your students are interested in pursuing higher education, right, as well as different places where they can go and research and find out if they're offering, right, scholarships. So I'll give you one more minute to kind of go through that. If you want to, if you guys want, I can send you a PDF of the PowerPoint because I know this is a lot of information to digest in an hour. Wonderful. Okay, I'll make sure that I set that up and send you a PDF of the PowerPoint. Thank you so much, guys. So I told you I would share some wonderful resources that we have up through in our website, fep.org. A lot of our resources are culturally relevant, inclusive financial education resources that reflect the real lived experiences of our students. Our special population resources are resources that have been created to take into account taking into account the hardships that many of our students have. One such resource is Keys to Your Financial Future. It is a turnkey curriculum, and it was created with the help of economists and social workers who had worked with students who had been impacted by the justice system, experienced the foster care system or the child welfare system, experienced homelessness, and created this curriculum with scenarios that depict those real life experiences while also showing a window and a pathway to financial stability, taking into account all of these hardships, which is so important for our students to see themselves reflected, right? In the resource, it's a way for them to connect. And it's also a way that they feel hope. Oh, I can do this. Look, this person is in the same circumstance. She's a teenage mom. She's in the child welfare system, but she's, pursuing this pathway and doing these steps and using these tools and resources to achieve her goals. We also have resources for students that are receiving special education services, resources for our culturally diverse students, like our Native students. It really is a very great resource. If you visit our website, these are all available through our websites. They're all free of charge, right? This is what our website looks like when you go there. We don't only have resources for our special population students. We have resources for parents, for English language learners, elementary students, middle school students, high school students. We also have webinars that have been recorded previously, and they're available again at no charge through our website. We have our YouTube channel. Many of our resources are available in Spanish. Some are available in multiple languages. Some of our webinars are also available in Spanish. And again, all of this is completely free. We cover topics such as housing, um, understanding a budget, taxes, income, spending and saving. We have a very robust list of webinar recordings that I hope you will check out and watch and hopefully you'll be able to feel comfortable having these conversations with your students. And we know it takes a village. As I said earlier, we're a public-private partnership. We cannot do the work that we do alone. We have a lot of support from other K-12 programs, such as the Open Doors program. Thank you, Jenna, so much for having this workshop. Financial institutions, banks, credit unions. We have government agencies that we partner with and support our work, educators, nonprofits. We have a lot of support and we need a lot of support. I hope that you want to become part of our FEP village. We want you to know that we are here to support your work. We want to learn more about effective ways that we can support the service and the work that you do to help our students thrive and succeed as they transition into adulthood. And if you guys have any questions, I wanted to leave 5 minutes at the end to address any specific questions that you have. Thank you so much again for dedicating an hour of your Wednesday morning to be here with us and learn about ways that you can support our students. I hope that those intentions that you had were met. And yes, I will take any questions now. Thank you so much. Thank you, Susanna. Thank you, Ryan. Sarah, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Chelsea. Are there other topics? And you can come off mute if you have a question. You don't necessarily have to use the chat. Absolutely. Thank you, Al. Um, I want to ask you guys a question since all of you are still digesting all the information. I know that was a lot. Will the recording be sent to us as well? I think that's a Jenna question. Yes,
Yes,
perfect.
there was a question that came in the chat about, are you able to share the slides?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. I will create a PDF and I will send it to you and you can send it out to all the participants.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's not a problem. I will have that done today. I wanted to know if there are any specific workshops that you would like us to have, expanding on any of the specific topics that we shared today, credit, banking, budgeting, that trauma-informed approach, the social emotional component of financial education or something else, something completely different that you want us to talk about. Again, feel free to unmute yourself.
Jenna, can you also save the chat for us? I can't save it from this.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jenna.
Oh, never mind. I found a different spot where I can save it.
Hello, my ladies. Hi. I'm just wondering if you could also have that workshop for, I think so, Hispanic speakers. Most of the students are Hispanic, so I think so it will be great for them. I know that in our culture, Hispanic culture, we don't have like financial literacy something. So,
Yeah.
and this will be really, really important for them, and they can, yeah, starting hit their financial, yeah.
Absolutely. That's a great question. Thank you so much, Josue. So a lot of the resources that we have available through our website are in Spanish. Two of the webinars that we've done in the past are also available in Spanish. Those webinars cover the topics of budgeting very extensively. They're 1 hour webinars exclusively on budgeting. They're available in English as well. And we also have banking. So budgeting and banking are two different webinars that we have that are available in English and Spanish. I'm hoping my March has been kind of crazy, so I'm hoping to record the webinar on credit and scams and fraud also in Spanish. That's coming up. I'm hoping to have it done by April. But if you want, are you wanting us to do a workshop for your students that is in Spanish? Is that what you're asking, or?
Yes, that's the idea. We call here like charlas, so it's a space that
Mhm.
someone else come here and speak about financial, sexually, or something else.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Oh yeah, we can connect. I'll put my email. I mean, well, you have it in the screen, hopefully.
yes,
Please email me and we can coordinate something virtual or in person and kind of coordinate and talk about what that would look like. But I absolutely would love to continue to support that student population in any way that I can.
okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Guys, we have only 1 more minute. I want to take this opportunity again to thank you for your time and attention, for your participation in the chat. I hope this is not the last time that we do something like this. This was so very powerful for me. Thank you again for the work that you do to support our students that need it so very much and for joining us today. I hope this was helpful.